What is going on, guys? Back with another video. Hope you're all keeping well. So what we're seeing now is we're seeing a lot of nations come to the table to potentially get or try to attempt to get new deals in relation to tariffs, potentially to cut the tariffs. And this is always going to happen because we all know how the US has the power to, take advantage of nations who seem to be in a weaker position. And of course, for the markets, this could be good for potential recovery. But of course, the damage that has been done has been sort of just insane. We've seen around 6 trillion wiped out of the stock market. And of course, we know the damage that has been done to the crypto market. Now, despite all this, guys, I remain bullish. I still believe 2025 is going to present some amazing opportunities to really make some real life-changing gains. And for me, real assets is a narrative which I think has probably the most potential from here. The reason why is because we're seeing the amount of things being tokenized now on chain, and the powers like Ondo, the connections they have. I really think this is the next narrative to really explode. And when you think in the past, we've seen the likes of gaming, we've seen the likes of AI memes really have parabolic rallies, and we're still waiting for the likes of RWA to do that. So today I want to talk about Plume. I've covered it before. Is it a good option for an RWA project, guys? Because you really do need to have at least some exposure to some RWA projects. Of course, it's not a micro cap, it's not a low cap, but it is what you could consider a mid cap, around 300 million in market cap. So what exactly is Plume? So this is aiming to be the first layer one RWFI based project, looking to onboard and bridge the gap between, Web 2, Web 3, onboard, different companies, businesses, and basically offer a variety of different assets, whether that's real estate, commodities, different financial tools, instruments, and basically combine that with the chain, Plume's layer one chain, and offer different financial tools, that sort of thing. So the main thing with a project like this is you want to know that they are establishing good partnerships, that they're developing, that they're updating consistently. When you see a project which is silent during these times, that is the moment you should panic and really question whether or not that is a good project. And the thing with Plume, you can see, for such a new project, I think this is less than 6 months old. Already, they've got nearly 20 million different addresses, nearly 300 million transactions generated, 4 billion plus in potential assets available, and already 180 different apps and protocols available. And remember, for a new chain, this is pretty impressive. And a lot of these, the different sort of lending, borrowing protocols, yield, you've got different dexes, wallets, infrastructure. So it's good to see, good partnerships, good, different apps, decentralized apps building on Plume. Good partnerships, the likes of Ondo as well. They attended the Ondo Summit. And you can see, the community here, 1 million followers on X, 450,000 Discord members, and, nearly 250,000 Telegram subscribers. Now, of course, that is all great, but ultimately you want to know what they're doing in relation to the real world. What are they offering? Are they partnering with big companies? And the answer to that question is yes. You can see here something which is really sort of impressive. You've got Plume, who are partnering with Mercado Bitcoin to essentially tokenize around $40 million worth of real world assets within Brazil. And, South America as a continent is a place where the economy is, growing at a pretty rapid pace. And it's obviously going to, provide opportunities for investors. And this is good. As you can see here, Mercado Bitcoin will use Plume Network's infrastructure and layer one blockchain to enable the Latin American trading platform to offer customers around the world the chance to invest in various tokenized Brazilian assets. And this is going to be different assets like backed securities, consumer credit, corporate debt, and accounts receivable. I think even real estate potentially. So that is really good. Positive news coming out for Plume. And then something which is really interesting is how they've been picked by the superstate to basically gain access to some US government securities fund and also crypto carry fund. So also, I think Plume, they've got, links to the US, potentially giving it that sort of, US based narrative as well, which is a narrative in the future, which could see some, huge growth, potential tax benefits and other benefits, which, I really do think is a high possibility. Other things as well, as I've said, they're developing a good ecosystem, 180 plus apps and protocols who are building on Plume, different yield protocols, lending, borrowing, treasuries, dexes, stable coins, infrastructure, lending. And something which is really interesting is they're also looking to sort of attract the retail side in relation to memes. As you all know how big Solana memes have been. Of course, that does come with adverse impact as well. But you cannot deny the amount of volume, the amount of sort of, people that, memes attracts. It's, millions, if not more. And this is something which is interesting. As you can see here, they've got a massive sort of importance on developing some memes, which I think is a good, trick in terms of, growing this project, with artwork here as well. So, very interesting to see. So yeah, could really be something which, potentially could grow a good sort of meme ecosystem on this as well. And then other interesting things, as I've said as well, for such a, new and fresh project, they've already got some, solid exchange listings, the likes of HTX, the likes of Bybit, MEXC, Gate.io, BitGet, Crypto.com. And something which is very interesting, something which I think is likely to happen. You can see here, they were very high up on the community voting round list for Binance. So potentially, are they going to get a Binance listing in the future? Well, one of the backers behind this is Binance Labs. So you can pretty much put, two and two together and, understand that they potentially will get a Binance listing soon. Does it hold the same weight as before? Of course, we've seen some controversy surrounding, insider trading, but ultimately it's still a big thing to get a Binance listing. It's going to, really improve the overall volume within the project. So yeah, good news, a good consistent updates here. Something which is also really important is you want a project to be attending different festivals. You've got here Plume touching down in Hong Kong for Festival Web 3, more festivals here. They've got festivals within Bali as well, partnering with different companies, different Web3 projects. You've got the likes of Sai here, joining them for interviews. This is exactly what you want to see, guys, right? This is exactly how a project continues to grow to become mainstream in the future. And, for me, I think Plume are doing a lot of very strong work. Other things to consider, of course, teams fully doxed. You've got fully doxed team here with good experience. It's also, an important factor just to give, the investor some confidence. And in terms of the backers, they do have some big tier one backers, as I've said, Binance Labs or now YZE Labs, Hashkey Capital Galaxy, and also some, big tier three investors as well. Of course, that does come with the potential for certain selling pressure as well. In terms of the sort of current supply, we have around 2 billion out of the 10 billion in circulation, so around 20% in circulation, 1.6 billion fully diluted valuation. What are the unlocks like? Are the unlocks harsh? And what are the sort of tokenomics like? Who has access to the tokens? So around 40% is for the community and ecosystem. 21% is for early backers and investors, 20% for core contributors, 13% for the foundation. So decent amount of supply is with the sort of insiders, early backers. But in terms of how much unlock we're going to see over the sort of rest of 2025, currently, according to CryptoRank, we have 2.3 billion tokens in circulation, and we have sort of a steady unlock every single month of around 100 million tokens, which is around 5% of the current supply. That does increase going into July to 240 million, so something to pay attention to. But looking at something like the start of November 2025, 3.5 billion will be in circulation. We currently have around 2 billion. So around 1.5 billion additional tokens will be released by 2025, which is not too bad. Of course, there are better projects in terms of token release schedule, but it isn't too bad. So ultimately, guys, I do think Plume is a good option for an RWA project. A mid cap, I think it can give you some good returns. Let me know your thoughts. Are you bullish on Plume? Do you hold it? And what are your targets for Plume? Do you think it can become mainstream? I've heard some people comparing this to Ondo. So yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. And I'll see you very soon for the next video.